And hello, everybody. It is Thursday. It's February 2nd. I can't believe it. Where did January go? And this is another Calgary real estate show for another week. And now we're into February. So welcome to February. And right off the top, Jaden, you're still on holidays. You're back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you had a comment just before we went live. And I think you should tell us about it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I have big expectations. My brother-in-law works for Bluegrass as part of the whole Billy the gopher, the groundhog.
Yeah.
And Billy.
Yes, thank you. And yes. I saw that he either saw his shadow or didn't. Whatever means spring is coming, and I'm just very, very hopeful that it means spring is coming tomorrow. Like by the time I land, I'd like a nice 15 blooms on the trees, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Well, I think you'll get at least plus temperatures tomorrow. It's been cold this week, but we don't really care about you because you've been in the sun all week. So.
Well, I'll take plus. Any plus up to me is spring. I'm good to go. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We have a lot to get to today, so let's get right to it. And Jaden, I'll tell you, we're jumping all over the place today, so be on your toes.
Ready.
Excuse me. All right, so here's our weekly update. What we're doing today is we're going to do the weekly update. Last year, this time, interest rates, I think. Natalie's going to talk about some design trends and also talk about the new energy efficiency program. There's a name for it. I'm not saying it right, but through City of Calgary. Then we're going to do the January recap right at the end. So you got to stick around for the whole show, everybody. But let's look at the week in review here. So we saw 185 new listings. That's the highest it's been for a month. Excuse me, not surprisingly, because we're getting into our busiest season as in real estate. So 170 sales, which is also the highest we've seen in the last month. So that gives us a 91% sale to new listing ratio and 38 days on market. That's now we're into the 30s. I think we're going to continue to see that. And why is that? Because I am hearing stories all over the place about detached homes in particular, but even a condo that we have clients that are interested in purchasing in a particular complex in Southeast Calgary, and the perfect unit came on for them. Unfortunately, they're not quite ready to write an offer. They had 2 offers last night, first day on market. So, it's there's always the stats, and then there's also the tales from the ground, as we like to say. Price reduced 67, active detached 937, so only a bump up on the detached side of 10 or 9 from last week, and then our total active actually down. So what that tells you is the other segments are selling well as well. As I just mentioned, apartment condos are even the inventory is getting eaten up quite quickly. And then we'll go to a year ago this week, Natalie.
All right. So this week it is 376. A year ago, it was 683. So it is down almost 45%. Like, it's crazy. New listings, again, down 40% from 795 last year to 476. Actives are down a bit by 5%, so down to 2489. Pendings are at 567, down from 800 last year, so down 30%, pretty much 29%. The benchmark price has gone up, however, so it's at 472 compared to 470 last year, and the average price has gone up as well to 521,179 from 517, 269, so it's up 0.76%. Days on market is pretty much the same. Last year it was 37. This year is 38. All right, I'm going into this one now. So this program, we just heard about this, I guess, last week. The Clean Energy Improvement Program. It's being offered through the City of Calgary. It's actually through Alberta Municipality. So basically, it's to help residential owners, property owners, with the upfront cost of doing energy efficiency improvements to their home. So they can access flexible financing through the city to pay for the upgrades, eligible upgrades, I will say that, and they can repay through their property tax bill. It goes up to 20 years, and it will cover 100% of the cost, which is huge. You do have to have a minimum amount of $3,000, and it's attached to the home, not the owner. So that means that you can either repay it. If you go to sell your house, you can repay it without penalty when the home is sold, or it can be transferred to a new buyer if it's agreed upon. I don't know how many people would want that, but we'll see how that goes. And it includes windows, doors, heating, insulation, AC, renewable energy and solar, light, water heating. And they did say custom projects. They didn't elaborate on that, so I'm not entirely sure what that means. I guess it depends on where you are. There's an 8-step program. You can go onto the city's website, look everything up. It takes you through all the pre-qualifications, lets you know what you can do. And then you have to get an evaluation through the Enter Guide. I know I had done this on my old house, and it was actually really good. It was that was a federal program at that time. So I'll be curious to see how many people actually take advantage of this.
Yeah, it creates, sorry,
like
just before we go to interest. Yeah, really great program. And I think it'll be interesting though, because you know, when you are going to resell, if you have the same homes that are side by side and one has an extra $500 a month, let's call it, on their property tax bill, will they be accepting of that? I mean, I guess only time will tell. So yeah, sorry, Jane, you go ahead.
No, absolutely. And just when I look at that program, I guess it all comes down to interest rate again, right? So when that home goes on, we still have high interest rates, but this is maybe this is a zero interest or a controlled interest rate program, that might be interesting to people rather than taking on that extra $20,000 in mortgage financing just to continue to do it through the property taxes, right? So it's just really interesting. I like to see. I'm a big proponent of moving towards clean energy for homes. I think that can make a big change for our future, and I think that's a great kind of start to do that. So that's great. I'm not going to talk a lot about interest rates today, to be honest. We haven't had a lot of change from last week. I think when we're looking back a year ago, this is just, we were coming into the craziest January we've ever seen between me and you, Mark, for sure. Craziest February we've ever seen. Interest rates were bottoming out. I had clients who signed on at prime minus 1.5, so they were at the bottom end. They were at 0.95%. They're currently at 4.95%, right? So we've seen a 4% rate increase over the year. We really think that we're not going to see that rebound over the next year. I do a lot of talking about this with my cousin from Vancouver, who's also a mortgage broker. Government is saying kind of by the end of the year, they expect to hold things stable for 2023 and then see things start coming down in probably fourth quarter of 2023. I think they've created a monster that they cannot control, and they will be aggressively taking rates down, hopefully by about the midpoint of 2023. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. Definitely when we talk about affordability and where pricing is at and not having to do those offers of $50,000 over ask and things like that, I don't think the interest rate should be the deciding factor for you, because we can plan together how to minimize that over the 25 years of home ownership, right?
Yeah, sounds
Excellent. All right. Now we're just going to head into a little bit of upgrades. Last week we talked about landscaping, and again, it's we're going into spring, so if you're going to do any exterior renovations in your home, now is a good time to start planning. So these are just some of the forecast trends for this year. The one is mixing textures. That's the same pretty much. It's been going like that for a while, but this one is nice because they do the whitewashed lime on the bottom. You're adding some nice wood accents, and then the horizontal planks. The other one is indoor-outdoor flow. Again, goes with the landscaping we talked about last week, but it's having that natural transition from the inside to the exterior. It really adds a lot of living space. Unfortunately, here we have about 3 months we can do that. So windows emphasizing the view. This one is a no-brainer. The other one I found very interesting about this house in particular is they're doing a lot of awnings over garages now, which is sort of cool. So it adds extra interest to the exterior. Brightly colored shutters. That's always been a big one, but it really adds a lot of dimension to a house, especially with something like this, more of a rancher style. And then rooftop patios. Who doesn't love a rooftop patio? Everybody wants one that looks beautiful. Again, it can be a bit of a challenge in a climate like ours because we have a lot of snow, that kind of thing, but they can figure it out. On to you.
Yeah, just go back to that rooftop patio one, because we toured through Alpine Park, which is a new community just very close to us here in Woodbine. And there was one model home in particular that had a third floor rooftop patio. So super cool concept. And I know friends that have them and absolutely love them. Obviously, you got to get the drainage figured out and all that, but with a proper plan there, it should be good. All right, so I've added a couple of events here. So we have the Calgary Boat and Outdoor Show coming up February 10th to 12th. There's the Home and Garden Show as well. So Natalie and I went to the renovation show. The Home and Garden Show is the bigger of the two. So we'll probably head back there and do some more content at the Home and Garden Show. That is coming up, I believe, Natalie, at the end of February, if I remember correctly. End of February,
yeah.
Yep. And then we have this Nitro Rallycross, which is part of Chinook Blast. So if you don't know much about Chinook Blast, it's just I believe they initially did it as a remembrance to some degree of the '88 Olympics at this time of year, because it's happening for the whole month of February. But as part of that is this Nitro Rallycross this weekend at Stampede Park. And then we have the YYC Hot Chocolate Fest. So this is the whole month of February, people. And there are various events. Just Google it. I couldn't put not all the locations are on the global website, but Google it. And the best part about this is it's supporting Calgary Meals on Wheels, which is such an important cause.
Absolutely.
All right. So here's the recap for January. What happened? Well, we still saw our overall benchmark price go up 5%. As you can tell with the year over year, our sales are down 40% from last January, which was a record, in fairness. Days on market was up slightly. New listings way down 25.1%. Months of supply, though, although it says up 56%, it's still only at 2 months of supply, which to me, in my books, that's a seller's market. Inventory is down slightly as well when we go to our next slide here. So on the detached side of things, what I want to start doing is not only comparing year over year, but month over month. So in December, our price was $619,200. It went up slightly in January to $622,800. And year over year, even though our sales were down big time from January a year ago, our prices still went up. Now, why is that? And I'm not going to repeat this every time. This is through all the categories, because when you don't have supply and there's pressure on the supply, the prices go up. It's just what happens, right? So let's go to semi now. And semi was the only segment where we saw a price decline in January. So you can see the description there. I'm not going to read it word for word, but they were slow compared to last year's levels. We have shifts where the demand remains strong for lower price product, and that's the same as what we have on the detached side. But if you're, 800, 900, a million, the demand just is not as strong as it was a year ago. And then moving on to row townhouses. This is one category that still is doing really, really well. Prices were up 12.3% year over year, and even slightly from December. Sorry, I'm just reading here as we're talking. But the adjustments, both sales and new listings, did little to change the low inventory scenario. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. So if you have a row townhouse, or if you know somebody that's got a row townhouse, it's still a great time to put it on the market. And so we'll move on to apartments. And apartments continue to do really, really well. They just didn't see the same decline as other property types in January, partly due to new listings coming onto the market. So what that means is, okay, now we have no sale. We don't have the sales declines because we actually have inventory to buy, right? And even with the extra inventory coming on the market, we still jumped up a little bit from December, and year over year, we're up almost 10%. And then when we roll up to Airdrie. So Airdrie is an interesting one because they just don't have the supply either. They had an inventory gain, but they're still 50% lower than long-term trends for January for inventory. So they had a slight increase in their pricing, and then year over year up almost 8%. And then moving to Cochrane, flying northwest. This was one area that actually saw a price decline from December to January. Year over year, they're up 7%. And it eased over last year's, again, record high for sales. And Jane talked about those ultra low interest rates. And that's why people were jumping on it last year at this time. And inventories up there are 40% below long-term trends. So you're going to see that as as a continuing thing we're going to say. And then if we go to Okotoks, December price, yeah, they jumped up significantly, but look, they only have 56 total units. I mean, between all the segments, detached, like everything, they only have 56 homes for sale in Okotoks in January. That's 61% below long-term trends. So if I do my math right, normally they would have about 70 or 80 homes for sale in Okotoks. I think the math is right on that, somewhere in that neighborhood. But their prices still jumped up significantly year over year. So the other thing I wanted to mention, I should have got Natalie to share this, but I'll just take that off the screen. So Calgary CTV News said, so this is the headline, January's new listings hit level not seen since the late 90s. So Calgary Real Estate Board says January's new listings fell to a level not seen since the late 90s as home sales declined 40% from the year before. New listings for the month amounted to 1,852, a 25% drop from January last year. Meanwhile, home sales totaled 1,199 compared to 2,004 in January prior. So if you look at that, we're not seeing the decrease in, so we had a 25% drop in new listings, but I think that year over year sales decline was around 40%, if I remember correctly. So why is that? And I think when we're talking about interest rates, that is to me one of the reasons why, because the people that maybe are waiting are hoping that interest rates will come down and there'll be more to buy. The challenge is the prices are going to, you can see, I mean, we don't have inventory, sales are down, but prices keep going up, right? So that's just going to, in my opinion, continue to happen throughout this year. So the best time to jump in is now. And that doesn't mean buying now, but that certainly means doing, we do our buyer consultation. Jaden, talk about your pre-approval process, because maybe there's more involved now. You have to, things like that, right? So tell them, give them a 30-second. Yeah.
It still comes down to income and debt, right? And so the only thing that's happening now is because interest rates are higher, we have to do 2% on top of that interest rate to qualify you for a mortgage. So you might qualify for a little bit more, but Mark is absolutely right. We can game plan this so that when those low interest rates are in, you already own the home. So you're not scrambling with everybody else, doing what I was talking about last year. We had clients who could not get into the market, even with strong realtors leading the way, because the offers are $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 over ask, right? So we can plan those interest rates, do the pre-approval guide, work with your buyer's process to make sure that you can get into the game now and be locked into those interest rates, maybe a year or two from now that are significantly lower.
Yeah. All together now, marry the home, date the rate. We're going to keep saying it because it's the truth, right? Like that is really the truth, and we're joking, but that is really the truth about it, because there's so many ways to slice that tomato when you get into the home and can figure out the interest rates. So that's it. That's our show for this week. Lots to cover here, so thank you for watching, whether it's live or later on all the channels that we put this out to. Jaden, have safe travels back tomorrow. And then we'll talk to you from the headquarters of Jaden Beck's Avenue Financial Commonwealth Lending in the booming metropolis of Crossfield next week.
That's great. Can't wait. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Have a good one.
See you, everybody.